80% of your preparation material has to be from you, has to be your own notes, has to be handwritten by you. If you don't do it and if you try to depend on external sources, you will fail, which I learned the hard way in my initial attempts. So please have your own material. And this syllabus part of it, yes, ensure that you have one dedicated notebook for each GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, and every sentence of it you ensure that at least 200 to 300 word content you have, static syllabus. Like suppose for example, in GS3, randomly if a question comes about nanotechnology, just for the introduction and conclusion you should have ready-made points, because you have very limited amount of time, like 7.5 minutes for 10 markers and 8.5 9 minutes for 15 markers. You cannot be going there and thinking what introduction I should give, what conclusion I should give. You cannot actively recall which scheme is there in nanotechnology. If you do all the thinking, then you will be starting to lose time. Then eventually the lost time will keep accumulating. At the end you will find you're not able to give your best. Last few questions you start scribbling, you won't give your best quality answers in the last few questions. So all that will happen. In order to cut all these issues, nip these issues in the bud, trust me, having this sentence wise, word wise notes will definitely help. So please ensure that like if you like this approach, you can take it like Talapati Vijay says, புடிச்சிருந்தா எடுத்துக்கோங்க இல்லனா விட்டுருங்க, அந்த மாதிரி தான் இது. But I'm sure this is a very good approach. Think about it. Have word wise, sentence wise notes. That is one best part I just wanted to emphasize. And yeah, written practice, writing practice is definitely necessary for mains. Like I said, you will be writing some 3000 odd words for one paper, multiplied into 7 papers over 2 weekends. Apart from that, language papers. So the ability to write fast, write clearly, write legibly, write densely. What do I mean by density? Density means the amount of sense you can make with the limited space you have. I can say the same thing, I can beat around the bush, say the same thing using 40 words, or I can be parsimonious about it and say just in 20 words. Analyze your answers. When I try to do the same thing, because I understand in the 7 minutes your mind will be agitated, you'll just be thinking I should write maximum number of points. You won't be focused on density and all. But after some time you look back at your answer. Does it make sense to you? You be your own examiner. A lot of times I used to feel in my early days that I'm just trying to beat around the bush. It's not dense enough. It is not crisp enough. It is not catching the attention of the examiner. So how do you develop that crispness or that density in your answers? Again, hard work, practice. So ensure that you again have a separate answer writing notebook. 2 answers per day is good enough. Just in the initial stage, you can refer to the answer as well. First, prepare it beforehand, then try to write an answer. But as you go down the preparation journey, what you should try to do is that don't prepare beforehand, because you would have studied the static part somewhere down the line. In mains also that only will happen. On the spot, you will have to shape your answer according to the demand of the question. So try to write the answer on the spot. Read the question, exactly understand what the question asks, and try to shape your answer accordingly. So that is one part of it. Please keep in mind that just as how mock tests, the 50 mock tests I told for prelims, just as how it is important, the writing part of it, 2 answers per day is very, very important for mains. Of course, before prelims, perhaps you can keep it at bay 4 to 5 months before prelims. Like right now, we are in prelim stage. So right now, it is not necessary. I'm just covering the whole preparation process in entirety. So I just mentioned that. So coming to interview, again, it is a very subjective experience, right? In 20 to 25 minutes, you will have to show your best impression. And that day, you should be at your best. That day, it should be that the interview board is not in a very bad mood. That day, everything has to come together. So, I mean, these are things outside under control. What do we read in Stoicism in GS4? Just focus on what is under our control, right? If you're a civil servant, which you all are, potential civil servants, we should be focused on what is under our control. Don't be perturbed about things that are not under our control. So, what is under our control in interview preparation? DAF analysis. So, whichever data you give in DAF, you have to be absolutely prepared about it, because it is a very predictable area in interview. Though the subjective part, we cannot predict what kind of cross questions are going to come. The predictable part, be absolutely prepared. That is one basic part that you have to do. One more unique thing that I understood over the years is personality test is telling your story, even though you don't realize it. They are trying to figure out who you are, what are your values, how well balanced you are, how clear you are. how emotionally stable you are. Do you have the deep sense of commitment to public service that is necessary for a civil servant? So these are things, they are very experienced people. Their collective experience is like some 4-5x of our age, right? So we cannot try to outsmart them. It is not possible. So what we need to do is think deeply. Again, as a psychology nerd, I may be overstressing this part, the mental aspect of it throughout the preparation, but in the interview especially, think deeply about it. My initial few, I've given 4 interviews. Like I said, I've had a whole up and down journey kind of a thing. My initial 2 interviews, I was giving generic answers. I was very young. My first interview, I think I gave in 22 or something. So I was very young. I was trying to ape others. Why do you want to become a civil servant? Usual answer: public service, that, this, blah, blah, blah. Which were true in a sense. That's how we come into it. I understand. It's not true. But do you feel authentic when you tell the answer? Ask yourself that question. Are you telling it because it feels good to their ears, or is it truly who you are? When I try to think deeply about myself, and this inexplicable drive that was driving me to achieve success in this examination, despite having a troublesome journey in the past, what was it? So I tried to think deeply about myself. What I tried to understand was that, to give a little bit of history, I studied in a group of schools called Satya Sai group of schools. Some of you may be knowing about Puttaparthi Sai Baba and all. So that system of schools, they give a very heavy emphasis on human values, heavy emphasis on public service. Like there is a very disciplined lifestyle there, and lot of things. We constantly engage in community service. Right from an engage, this aspect of public service and community service has been ingrained in me. Like when I used to hear national anthem in flag hoisting, I used to feel a little bit of tingle in my spine. I'm not exaggerating. This is not some cliched statement given by a topper. Trust me. These were all things inside me. In fact, right now, how self-conscious I am, that's how self-conscious I was earlier also. Because I was thinking, if I tell all this, they'll think, what story is this fellow telling? Tingling in his spine and all. Doesn't make any sense. But I knew this was my authentic truth. Like right now, when I'm trying to communicate to you, how authentic do I sound? I wanted to be that authentic self in front of the interview board. So I knew this is my story. I'll communicate it to them. If things don't go my way, no problem. I cannot do anything about it. But know who you are. What is it that is driving towards success in this examination? Think very, very deeply about it. And if you are that well self-aware person, no, trust me, your interview process will go well. You won't appear this generic kind of a person. So know your story very well. I'll give you one more example. I took psychology optional despite having physics as graduation. At that time, of course, I learned that physics, resource materials are a little bit low, guidance, it is a little tough to find and all. But when I thought deeply about it, anyways, I was moving away from physics. I was not going to pursue physics anymore. I wanted to prepare for civil services. So it's an opportunity for me to learn something new. So I did some trend analysis. At that point of time, psychology was a good enough optional. It was scoreable optional, and a lot of guidance and materials were there, though not as much as more popular optionals like sociology, anthropology and all. But again, something deeper drove me to take psychology, despite it not being as popular as other optionals. Again, I thought, what is it the deeper reason that I felt drawn towards psychology? So I'm a naturally curious person. I try to understand myself better. I like to understand others better, and I try to be observant as much as possible. So this tendency of me helped me to realize my passion, because whatever optional you're going to take, you're going to live with it, right? 1 year, 2 year, maybe 3 years, maybe more. So ensure that you really love the subject. If you like the subject really enough, you can definitely stand yourself apart. Why I'm telling this? Because in my earlier mains marks also, though I knew that I can make myself stand apart in psychology, my marks were not very good. It was in the average to good zone. It was not going to that moon orbit zone, which will take you to the top 100 or top 50 marks. But I knew deep in my heart, because some people are telling shift optional, why to struggle with psychology and all. But I knew that I had the ability, because I was, like I said, that is my authentic self. I like to read about theories. I like to read about psychological factors that drives human behavior. Apart from that, there is one personal aspect to it. My sister is differently able. She is here. Her name is Sai Shalini, and she has autism. As we grew up, I kept observing her, and I wanted to get to know her better. That is one definite factor that went behind it. So what I try to do is, as I was reading psychology, I was trying to apply the theories I was reading to help her. For example, people who have autism, they have something called stereotypy. They keep rocking like this if they are sitting simply. When we see her and she's doing this behavior, we don't know what drives that behavior. We're like, that's just some weird behavior if people don't know about her condition. Similarly, she used to have this self-harming behavior. She tries to pluck her skin sometimes. She tries to pluck her hair sometimes. So seeing this, I was curious, why? What drives this behavior? What is she deriving from it? Then I understood after reading all this theory, although I'm not an expert, to some extent I understood that since they are not able to communicate with people, they are not able to bond with people, they try to stimulate themselves to all these activities. They need something to keep themselves going, right? They cannot communicate, but they do have their own thoughts. They do have their own hormones, which must be driving their body crazy. So they must have some outlet, like a pressure cooker, to let off their steam, to stimulate themselves. So that was driving all her behavior. So I tried to implement some new things. I tried to get her introduced to wildlife documentaries. I subscribed to Netflix HD, version that specifically for that, so that all these BBC documentaries, they appear very colorful when we show in HDTV, specifically for her. One birthday, I gifted her fish tank so that she can relate to one life form better. No, all this is not to tell my personal soft story or something. What I'm trying to convey is that you can enliven your preparation process if you choose to. If you choose to see it as a dry process full of studying, full of tests, that is taking the life out of you, that is depressing you, that is making you sacrifice a good part of your youth, well, it's your choice. But if you want to see it as an exciting phase that is exposing you to so many things, that is making you a better person, that is taking you to Zen mode emotionally, you are in some other mode, so many ups and downs will be coming, your friends will be asking, why do you become different? But that's the person you are, right? You are developing yourself, you are evolving yourself. It's simply the way you look at the preparation journey. So one more lesson I want to drive home is enliven, add value, add color to your preparation journey. It's not a dry process, trust me. If you want it to be that way, you can make it that way. So that is just one aspect of it. I have noted down so many things, but I think it will be too much if I keep talking. So should we start asking questions? Sir is not here. Okay, I'll just bore you for some more time with some more theories. If somebody has, have questions, you can ask me. Yeah, mental health. Again, as a psychology nerd, I cannot but talk about it. See, why do I keep stressing it? Because right now, of course, our awareness about mental health has increased after the post-COVID era, where depression is a buzzword that keeps coming out of everybody's mouth. But let's take CSK. How many of you are CSK fans? I know it was tough. Yesterday we had lost. I too felt bad. But why are they an incredibly good team? Any guesses? Anybody wants to take a guess? It's related to psychology. Suma solunga. Yeah, something related to that. And Shivam Dubey, poor strike rate, comes to CSK, phenomenal performer. Rahane, experienced player, but takes up a totally different role, comes to CSK, enjoys it. Yes. Dhoni, of course. Yes, Tala. Yes, yes. Something similar. What? Huh? Yes. You are closer. You are more closer to the point. It is in being a good headspace. If here you are not in a good space, whatever talent you have in the rest part of your body won't matter. You won't be at your productive self. I've realized it in multiple forms. Theoretically, practically, adivangi, midivangi. So trust me, you have to be in a good headspace. Mental health is a very, very critical part of it, which many toppers don't talk about. I don't know. I'm not blaming anybody, but perhaps since I've lived with psychology and lived all the aspects of it as well, I'm trying to. I've always been a mentor here, and whatever stories I keep here, most of the doubts are not regarding syllabus. It's about how do I manage myself? What is time management? How the hell do I keep going on? It's regarding these aspects, right? If you see my previous videos also, I would have told preparation is as much about the mental process as it is about the syllabus and test taking and all. That's why I'm focusing more on this. So how do you try to keep your mental health up? There are many theories. Again, these are all just theories if you see it that way. But I try to learn from them and apply, if not fully, at least some part of it. So there is one psychologist called Martin Seligman. He has done extensive work in subjective well-being. Subjective well-being is, of course, how you rate your own life. It is called quality of life. So he has given one theory of positive psychology called PERMA, PERMA, PERMA. So some of you may have heard about it as well. PERMA, P stands for positive emotion, E stands for engagement, R stands for relationships, M stands for meaning, and A stands for accomplishment. Just hear me out. I know what is this nerd talking about, that kind of a look you are having, but just hear me out. If some part of it you can implement, well and good. Positive emotion, P. Positive emotion can be anything, right? You water a plant which is near your home, positive emotion. You help a stranger who is going on a road, positive emotion. You feel grateful for your life that despite, you are being secluded in preparation and all, you at least have a good family, a roof over your head, you're not being pressurized, something to be grateful for, positive emotion. Ensure that you are undergoing this positive emotion at least once per day, if not the whole day. I know preparation makes it worse, but yes, try to be in the positive emotion zone as much as possible. E for engagement. What does engagement mean? Has anybody seen the movie Soul? Disney animation movie. I'm also a cinema nerd, so I'm going to bring it in as well. Nobody has seen? Okay, fantastic movie. I'll recommend it highly. If you're free in between all this prelims preparation, do watch it. The essence of the movie is about this flow only. What is that one activity when you do, you lose that sense of time? You just don't know where time is going, right? You suddenly realize, hey, so much time has passed. Is it playing some instrument? Is it writing? Is it blogging? Is it cooking? Is it gardening? It ties to hobbies as well. But find your flow and engage in it for some time. 10 minutes a day per yoga. What's going to happen? You're not going to miss some test or something, right? Just ensure that you find your flow, find your engagement, and try to be engaged as much as possible. If it's your hobby, well and good. Once per day, once a week, whatever you can find it comfortable. I'm just trying to tell that this preparation is not the be all and end all of your life. Even during preparation, even if I wouldn't have cleared the examination, I would be telling the same thing as a mentor. Trust me, this is not just some success talk, random talk. So yeah, P for positive emotion, E for engagement. R for relationships. This word is a little tricky word in our phase of life. So beware. I'm not trying to qualify what relationship you should have or you should not have. But here, relationships mean a general thing. It can be a good relationship with your dog, with your cat, with your would-be, with your BFGF, with your dad, with your mom, with your friends. Socialize, because we are a social animal, right? Without this social feed, we cannot exist. Don't try to cut yourself telling that, okay, only after clearing this examination, I'll meet everybody. I won't see any cinema. Forget all the friends. No, doesn't work that way, sadly. Again, naturally, I'm an introvert. So I tried to go into that zone. It didn't work for me. But I try to find a balance, right? At least once a month, call up a friend, talk with them. Be human. Don't be a robotic aspirant. So that is R for relationships. M for meaning. What does meaning mean? Here in this theory, meaning means a purpose that you find yourself for in life. It can be any purpose. What is that value? What is that purpose of life that you're running towards? It's not just public service. Obviously, you're all driven by public service. That's why you are here. That I understand. Is it religion? It can be religion. Is it like once a week if you go, you feel peaceful to temple? Is it political? Is it like if you endorse some philosophy or political ideology, if you write about it, you feel good about it. You feel that your life is moving towards in furtherance of that value, in furtherance of that purpose. So find some meaning which is above the mundane level of your life, not just kana pina sona. It's something more, right? Public service, I understand. That's an obvious reason for us. Of course, we are aspirants. But is there something beyond this? For me, religion was there. I'll tell you. For some time, I was like, okay, God is there, maybe not. That doesn't matter. Why to go to temple? All this preparation will be busy. Then I realized, again, perhaps because I grew up in a system of education that had a very heavy emphasis on spirituality, I realized a little bit dose of spirituality every week won't hurt me. So I took up one temple. I ensure that at least once a week, whether regardless of your belief in God, or if you're an atheist also, I'm not generalizing it, try to ensure that you find your meaning in life. For me, visiting that temple once a week, 10 minutes a week, gave me some peace, gave me a sense that something supernatural I'm connected to. You may or may not agree with me, but I'm just trying to drive a point, right? Meaning, M for meaning. A is accomplishment. the sense of accomplishment, the drive that gives you, the high that gives you. Maybe some good marks in a mock test, maybe consistent studying for 5 hours a day, maybe 50 pages in one day. Set yourself micro targets, achieve it, reward yourself. Not too much, don't over reward yourself at once. Beware. But I'm trying to tell you there is a scientific basis behind this sense of accomplishment. The high it gives you, it builds your confidence, because you are going to reach a very big high at the end of your preparation life. So in order to build yourself up to that, try to set small targets, accomplish it, and reward yourself. So this theory I have felt is a very good theory. Again, I may not implement all PE RMA every day of my life. At least on a weekly or monthly basis, I try to reassess where am I lacking, because sometimes we feel off, right? Whether it is a mood swing, something has been lacking in our life. Apart from preparation, what is it? Why do I feel empty? Then you can use this framework if it is going to help you. Is it P? Is it E? Is it R? Is it M? Is it A? Try to focus on it. It will definitely get you into a good headspace. Then it's like CSK. After that, you have to perform. Getting into good space is my responsibility, right? So that's just one aspect of it. I think I'll stop here. I mean, it's all related to the same stuff only. We'll just take questions from now on. Depending on the questions, I'll blabber some more time. You can ask questions to me in English, Tamil, Hindi also. My Hindi is poor, but I try to manage. Okay, Gio. எவ்வளோ நேரம் ஆச்சு? நான் பேசி எவ்வளோ நேரம் ஆச்சு? ஒரு அரை மணி நேரம் இருக்குமா? Okay. நீங்க ரெகுலேட் பண்ணுங்க. I'll just answer, no problem.
Hi sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, with respect to mocks, இப்போ வந்து like continuous like morning we should take GS, afternoon CSAT, அந்த மாதிரி ரெகுலரா எடுத்துட்டு அதோட ஆன்சர் கீயும் அன்னைக்கே செக் பண்ணுமா, இல்ல it can be like one day GS, another day CSAT, அந்த மாதிரி?
அது எப்படினா எடுத்துக்கலாங்க. பட் அல்டிமேட் டே நம்ம ரெண்டுத்தையும் ஒண்ணா எடுக்க போறோம் இல்லையா? சோ நீங்க பிராக்டிஸ் பண்றப்போ எப்படி வேணா எடுத்துக்கோங்க. But ensure that answer key you check that day itself, because if you check 2 days later, the small things will forget. You will just know the right answer. But அந்த நேரத்துல நம்ம எப்படி யோசிச்சோம், நம்ம வேற மாதிரி யோசிச்சு ஒன்னு எலிமினேட் பண்ணிருப்போம், பட் ஆன்சர் வேறையா இருந்திருக்கும். சோ ஓகே, ஆக்சுவலி நம்ம அப்படி யோசிச்சு இந்த ஆன்சருக்கு அரைவ் பண்ணிருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிற தாட் ப்ராசஸ் வந்து நீங்க இமீடியட்டா ஆன்சர் கீ செக் பண்ணாதான் உங்களுக்கு ரியலைஸ் ஆகும். பட் நீங்க எல்லா வாட்டியும் ஒரே நாள் ரெண்டுத்தையும் ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணுங்கிறதெல்லாம் கிடையாது. பட் லைக் ஐ செட், we were discussing with the senior faculty also. Right now the CSAT மேல ஃபோக்கஸ் கொஞ்சம் கம்மியா இருக்குங்கிற மாதிரி சொல்றாங்க நிறைய பேர். பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் விச் என்னதான் ப்ரீவியஸ் அட்டெம்ப்ட்ல சர்வீஸ் வாங்கி மெயின்ஸ் எழுதினவங்க எல்லாம் CSATல மிஸ் அவுட் ஆயிட்டு இருக்காங்க நெக்ஸ்ட் அட்டெம்ப்ட்ல. ஸோ ப்ளீஸ் டோன்ட் அண்டர் எஸ்டிமேட் CSAT. It is a very vital paper. You assess yourself. For me personally, I was relatively good at it, thankfully, because I was from a science background. Not that non-science people cannot do CSAT. இப்போ நான் என்ன சொன்னாலும் கேர்ஃபுல்லா சொல்லணும். But I was naturally good at in written communication and English. So comprehension will save me anyways. நான் என்னோட பர்சனல் அனாலிசிஸ் சொல்றேன். CSAT பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் குட் சங்க் ஆஃப் இட் இஸ் காம்ப்ரிஹென்ஷன், குட் சங்க் ஆஃப் இட் இஸ் லாஜிக்கல், குவான்ட்ஸ். ஸோ மூணுத்துல எது வீக் ஏரியான்னு பாருங்க. உங்க ஸ்ட்ராங் ஏரியா உங்களை காப்பாத்தி கொண்டு போயிருமா அப்படின்னு பாருங்க. அது அப்படி பண்ணாலுமே ஃபோக்கஸ் ஆன் யுவர் வீக் ஏரியாஸ். இல்ல மூணுமே வீக் அப்படின்னா யூ ஹேவ் டு ஒர்க் ஆன் செப்பரேட்லி. லாஜிக்கலுக்கு மட்டும் டெஸ்ட் எடுக்கோங்க, குவான்ட்ஸ்க்கு மட்டும் டெஸ்ட் எடுங்க, காம்ப்ரிஹென்ஷன் மட்டும் டெஸ்ட் எடுங்க. அந்த மாதிரி யூ கேன் ஒர்க். ஸோ CSATல இனஃப் எம்பசிஸ் கொடுங்க, எஸ்பெஷலி டியூரிங் லாஸ்ட் 2 months. நீங்க முன்னாடி ஃபுல்லா ப்ரிப்பரேஷன்ல இருந்திருப்பீங்க, ஸோ GS டெஸ்ட் மட்டும் கொடுக்கறது ஃபைன். நவ் ஐ திங்க் only 2 months are there, though you have got 3 weeks extensionல. Right now we can focus more on CSAT. At least, I don't know, I cannot give a number, but 10 to 15 CSATs is good enough before mocks. If you are a little weak in certain areas, you can proportionally increase more.
Thank you, sir.
ஒரு ஜெனரல் கொஸ்டின் தான் சார். ஸோ உங்களுக்கு எப்போ அந்த ஸ்பார்க் கிடைச்சது? இஸ் தட் ஃப்ரம் யுவர் ஸ்கூல் டேஸ் ஆர் ஃப்ரம் யுவர் காலேஜ் ஆர் எப்போ ஐ வாண்ட் டு பி எ சிவில் சர்வெண்ட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நீங்க டிசைட் பண்ணீங்க? ஐ வாண்ட் டு டிராவல் இன் UPSC அப்படின்ட்டு எப்போ ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணீங்க? எப்போ அந்த டிசிஷன் எடுத்தீங்க?
இல்லைங்க, நான் சின்ன வயசுல இருந்தே இதுதான் கனவு கண்டுன்னு சொன்னாலும் போய் சொல்லிடுவேன். ஸோ எனக்கு அந்த கனவு டில் அபவுட் Graduation, I had other options in mind. Research, physics being a theoretical subject, I had research field in mind. At one point, I started feeling I couldn't imagine myself as a researcher down the line. Chinna vayasula somewhat of an all-rounder, somewhat of a generalist, jack of all trades, master of none kind of a guy. So நமக்கு வந்து பிசிக்ஸ்ல மட்டுமே வாழ்க்கைய ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணி கொண்டு போறது எனக்கு வந்து கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டங்கிற மாதிரி நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். Just then my father here, he gave a suggestion. It was just an initial sparking thought that UPSC ஒன்னு இருக்கு, why not அப்படின்ற சொன்னாரு. Then I started analyzing pros and cons. Why not நான் தான் யோசிச்சுட்டு இருந்தேன். Then perhaps தான் அந்த சொன்னேன் இல்லையா, I thought deeply about myself, this public values, this value driven education system, the kind of people I have seen around growing. My father also, he is very involved in community service. அவங்க ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸோட சேர்ந்து மனிதன் ஒரு ஃபவுண்டேஷன் வச்சிருக்காங்க. யார் அவங்க எங்க சர்க்கிள்ல யாருக்காவது ஹெல்ப் பண்ண அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சா அப்பா தே ரீச் அவுட் இல்லைங்க சார் 3000 வச்சுக்கோங்க, ஏதாவது ஏதாவது கொடுங்கிற மாதிரி சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ இதை நம்ம சின்ன வயசுல இருந்தே பார்த்து பார்த்து வளர்ந்துட்டு இருக்கோம். இதெல்லாம் பண்ணணும், செம்மையா பண்ணணும், அதுக்கு காசும் சிவில் சர்வீஸ் தான். ஸோ ஐம் ஜஸ்ட் சும்மா ஜோக்குக்க சொல்றேன். பட் இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு தாட் ப்ராசஸ்ல தான் நான் இருந்தேன். அப்போ சிவில் சர்வீசஸ் வை நாட் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி தான் ஐ ஸ்டார்டட். But I think over the period of time only my 200% commitment came in. So it was not one spark, one trigger. It is a deep process of thinking about myself and to try and achieve a career which is in consonance with my values, which is in consonance with what I want to do. So அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு தாட் ப்ராசஸ்ல தான் நான் ஆரம்பிச்சேன். பட் நான் போக தான் நான் ஃபுல் கன்விக்ஷனோட இதை புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன். ஏன் அது சொல்றேன் அப்படின்னா, நான் சொன்னால ஒரு லாங் ஜேர்னி இருந்தது, நடுவில் நான் பெருசாக தான் பண்ண ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் மட்டும் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன். தென் ஐ காட் அன் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி டு ஒர்க் வித் த கலெக்டர் ஆஃப் திருவள்ளூர், த தென் கலெக்டர் ஆஃப் திருவள்ளூர், மிஸ்டர் ஆல்பிஜான் வர்கீஸ் IAS. He had brought an internship scheme. Some of you may know about it. District internship scheme சொல்லிட்டு he recruited with personal examinationலாம் வச்சு he conducted personal interviews. He recruited 6 of us. We were attached in collectorate for some 6-7 months. This was in 2022, 5th to September 2022. There I realized that what an IAS officer can actually do. So நான் போய் சார் பார்த்தேன் personally. So many departments were there. You get an opportunity to touch so many lives in so many areas. So I tried to attach myself in fisheries sector. I tried to attach myself in education sector. So it was a small idea for me. Personally for me, just then I was starting to earn in the sense not much from Shankar's, from mentoring little bit, from the internship stipend little bit. I didn't know how to manage my money. So I thought this financial education, though it is very, very important, now there are lots of influencers, of course, in YouTube and Insta. Your generation might be knowing better. Not that I'm very old. Again, so this financial education part of it, I thought, இது வந்து கண்டிப்பா எஜுகேஷன்ல இருக்கணும் அப்படின்ட்டு. ஸோ நான் சார் கிட்ட ஒரு ஐடியா கொடுத்தேன், சார் இந்த மாதிரி ஃபினான்ஷியல் எஜுகேஷன் ஒரு பைலட் பண்ணலாமான்ட்டு. சார் ஓகே டிட். தென் ஐ ரீச் அவுட் டு NCFE, நேஷனல் கவுன்சில் ஃபார் ஃபினான்ஷியல் எஜுகேஷன். அது மும்பைல இருக்க ஒரு ஏஜென்சி. நம்ம ஃபினான்ஷியல் ரெகுலேட்டர்ஸ்லாம் இருக்காங்க இல்லையா, RBI, PFRDA, SAB, எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து நடத்துற ஒரு ஏஜென்சி ஸ்பெசிஃபிகலி ஃபார் ஃபினான்ஷியல் எஜுகேஷன். இப்படி ஒன்று இருக்கிறதே நமக்கு தெரியாது, ப்ரிப்பரேஷன்ல இவ்வளவு நாள் இருந்துமே நமக்கு தெரியாது. இதை பத்தி படிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சேன்னு எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சது. இப்படி ஒரு ஏஜென்சி இருக்காங்க, இதுக்கு டெடிகேட்டடா ரிசோர்சஸ் இருக்கு. Why is it that it is not reaching to schools, especially government schools? So I wanted to bridge this gap, this structural gap. So நான் NCFE கிட்ட ரீச் அவுட் பண்ணேன். They were happy. They were like, only private schools reach out to us. No government schools has ever reached out to us to try and do this financial education sort of thing. So we reached out to them. They came down here. They trained the teachers, and of course, 1-2-3 month pilot we did, implementing in one school per block. 14 blocks are there in Tiruvallur district. So 14 schools we implemented financial education. It was a good experiment. So what I'm trying to tell is, an idea was supported by a supportive system, and it went and impacted some lives in some way. It may be a success, it may not be a success, but I realized the impact of public service, what a civil servant can do. So நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி ஓவர் த பீரியட் தான் நான் நிறைய படிக்க நிறைய சிவில் சர்வீஸ் பத்தி கத்துக்க, இந்த மாதிரி இன்டர்ன்ஷிப்ஸ்ல ஐ நியூ தட் திஸ் வாஸ் மை காலிங். ஐ வாஸ் இன் த ரைட் ட்ராக். அதனாலதான் ஐ ஜஸ்ட் கெப்ட் கோயிங் அண்ட் கோயிங், ஹோப்பிங் தட் இட் வில் ஒர்க் அவுட். லிட்டில் பிட் ஆஃப் லக், காட்ஸ் கிரேஸ் எல்லாம் வேணும் தான், அதெல்லாம் இல்லைன்னு சொல்லல. பட் லைக் ஐ செட், கண்ட்ரோல் த கண்ட்ரோலபிள்ஸ். உங்களால் உங்க எபிலிட்டியில இருக்கிற விஷயங்களை நீங்க பண்ணிட்டு போயிட்டே இருக்கணும். நடக்கிறது நடக்காதது yeah. Voice not audible.
Hello sir. Mainly the answer writing பத்தி தான் சார். என்னன்னா அதான் சார், ஒரு பக்கம் நம்ம எப்படி சார் கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸையும் எப்படி டைனமிக் போர்ஷன் ஸ்டாட்டிக் போர்ஷன் கம்பைன் பண்ணி எழுதுங்க சார். எனக்கு சொந்தமா யோசிச்சு எழுதுற மாதிரி இருக்கு. ஸோ நம்ம இந்த ரெஃபரன்ஸ் புக்ஸ் மொத்தமா நோட்ஸ் எடுக்கணுமா? அப்படி மொத்த ரெஃபரன்ஸ் புக்கையும் நோட்ஸ் எடுத்துட்டு அப்புறமா கரெக்டா இப்படி அதான் சார் பேசிக்கலி என்னன்னா இப்போ மொத்த ரெஃபரன்ஸ் புக்கையும் படிச்சு முடிச்சுட்டு அதுலேருந்து நோட்ஸ் எடுத்துட்டு சைட் பை சைட் கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸோட நோட்ஸ் இது ரெண்டுத்தையும் கம்பைன் பண்ணி எழுதுற மாதிரி இருக்குமா இல்ல என்ன?
கரெக்ட், நீங்க சொல்றது கரெக்ட். நான் மென்ஷன் பண்றப்போ அதை சொல்ல மறந்துட்டேன். அந்த சென்டென்ஸ் வைஸ் நோட்ஸ் வச்சுக்கோங்கன்னு சொன்னேன் இல்லையா? சிலபஸ்க்கு GS1க்கு GS2க்கு நீங்க சென்டென்ஸ் வைஸ் ஸ்டாட்டிக் ஒரு நோட்ஸ் வச்சிருப்பீங்க. சப்போஸ் நானோ டெக்னாலஜி எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஸ்டாட்டிக்கா இந்த டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் இத்தனை ஸ்கீம் இருக்கு, இந்த பட்ஜெட்ல இத்தனை லே அவுட்னு ஒரு 100 வேர்ட் கண்டென்ட் வச்சுக்கிட்டீங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட் டே நியூஸ் பேப்பர் யூ சி கம் அக்ராஸ் a new development, new current affair. Say there is a new scheme, come back to your notes and add it. So and the mari both static and dynamic you keep adding to your your personal compilation. I mean you actually write an answer in mains, unga personal compilation irukka ellame anga it will come in handy. You don't have to think there. Automatic anga irukka static vandrum dynamic vandrum. So நீங்க நியூஸ் பேப்பர்ல இருந்து படிக்கும் போது சரி, அந்த thematic notes ன்னு சொன்னாங்க இல்லையா, அந்த thematic compilations institute கொடுக்கறது லாஸ்ட் மினிட்ல நீங்க படிப்பீங்க. அதுல இருந்து if you feel something are directly related to syllabus, keep adding on to the respective sections. Finally நீங்க மெயின்ஸ் போறப்போ அது எல்லாத்தையும் படிச்சுட்டு போனீங்கன்னா it will be a combination of both.
ஓகே சார், இன்னொன்னு என்னன்னா இன்டர்வியூ ரிலேட்டடா எனக்கு ஒரு டவுட் சார். ஏன்னா டு பி ஆனஸ்ட் என்னோட மோட்டிவ் என்னன்னா I want to go to civil service basically to enjoy the benefits and privileges of the services. So will this be considered as a right motive or will this be considered as a wrong motive?
What do you think? Is it a right motive or not?
Sir, என்ன பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் right sir. Interviewer point of view
இல்ல I'm just asking, I'm just trying to get to know you better. Like I said, psychology nerdla, so சும்மா
சார் நான் இன்டர்வியூ பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல இருந்து கேக்குறேன். ஏன்னா
நான் இன்டர்வியூ எடுத்தது இல்லங்க, அதுதான பிரச்சனை.
இன்டர்வியூ எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வச்சு கேக்குறேன் சார்.
தெரியலங்க, I cannot tell anything right now. It's a gamble. It's a little bit of a gamble because usually nobody comes here for that. I mean it may be there subconsciously, at least nobody tells it off right upfront. அந்த மாதிரி சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. So you again நீங்க இன்னும் டீப்பா யோசிச்சு பாருங்க, இதுக்காக தான் வந்தீங்களா அப்படின்னு. கண்டிப்பா இதுக்காக தான் அப்படின்னா I'll give another suggestion. Benefits பர்ஸ்க்காக தான் வரீங்க அப்படின்னா I would honestly say it's not a good option. It is not the best paying job here in the market, right? Private sector la executive equivalent ana positions la there are much better paying options. You can have a more luxurious lifestyle. So I mean I'm not discouraging or something. அவங்க அந்த மாதிரி கேட்கலாம், நான் சொல்லல, இன்டர்வியூ சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்னு நான் மாத்தி விட்டுருவேன். அப்ப ஏன் சிவில் சர்வீஸ் வரீங்க, பிரைவேட் செக்டர் போய் ஏதாவது பெரிய எக்ஸிகியூட்டிவ் ஆகலாம்னு கேட்பாங்க. Do you have a good answer for that? Think about it.
Benefits அதுக்கப்புறம்
பதவி எதுக்காக அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா அது மக்கள் பணி அந்த மாதிரி லிங்க் பண்ண பாப்பாங்க. Again I'm saying it will be a gamble. You will have to think really deep about it. My personal opinion, it will definitely backfire.
Okay.
After that, அது நீங்க எடுக்கிற கால்.
Okay.
சொல்லுங்க ஜி. 3 times actually 4 mains எழுதி இருக்கேன். It was gradually improving. First I was in 240s range, till now I was in 250s 260s range only. Like I said, psychology not a very popular optional and it's a tricky and dynamic subject. So you will have to write dynamic answers. Questions எல்லாமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா வந்து டைரக்டா புக்ல இருந்து எழுதுற மாதிரி இருக்காது. மல்டிபிள் பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ் கம்பைன் பண்ணி எழுதணும், கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் கம்பைன் பண்ணி எழுதணும். எல்லாமே ஒரு மினி எஸ்ஏ மாதிரின்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். நம்ம எஸ்ஏ எழுதும்போது எப்படி இருக்கும், அது படிக்கும்போது உங்க தாட் ப்ராசஸ் நீங்க வந்து ரிஃப்ளெக்ட் பண்ணுவீங்க. ஸோ உங்க பர்சனாலிட்டி என்னங்கிறது தெரியும். சைக்காலஜி கிட்டத்தட்ட அந்த மாதிரி தான். ஸோ எவ்ரி ஆன்சர் யூ ஹேவ் டு பி யூனிக். ஸோ கிரியேட்டிவிட்டி வை இஸ் இட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் ஃபார் சிவில் சர்வெண்ட் அப்படின்னு வந்துடும். நம்ம கிரியேட்டிவிட்டி டெஃபினேஷன் மட்டும் புக்ல இருந்து எழுதலாம். மற்ற 90% ஆஃப் த பேப்பர் யூ ஹேவ் டு திங்க் ஆன் யுவர் ஓன். ஸோ இட் இஸ் லிட்டில் ட்ரிக்கி இன் தட் ஆஸ்பெக்ட். அண்ட் ஃபார் மீ, நான் என்னதான் நான் கிரியேட்டிவா எழுதினாலுமே இட் வாஸ் நாட் ஒர்க்கிங் அவுட். திஸ் டைம் தேங்க்ஃபுல்லி ஒர்க் அவுட். ஐ காட் 293. I don't know how high or low it is. Average ஸ்டாண்டர்டெல்லாம் கம்பேர் பண்ணல. பட் அகைன் தளபதி சொல்ற மாதிரி பி யுவர் ஓன் காம்படிட்டர். என்னோட ரெஃபரன்ஸ் வச்சு பார்த்தா இட்ஸ் வெரி குட் மார்க். ஐ லைக் தளபதி த ஆக்டர், டு பி வெரி கிளியர். So what I try to improve upon is that I analyze toppers answers. நிறைய டாப்பர்ஸ் ஆன்சர் காப்பி பார்த்தேன். அந்த கொஸ்டினோட டிமாண்ட் எக்ஸாக்டா எப்படி அட்ரஸ் பண்றதுன்னு கத்துக்கிட்டேன் நான். ஸோ for example, some questions I write longer bullet points. I try to be more analytical, more deliberative about it. Some questions which are more directly from static, like 10 theories of problem solving. இதுல நம்ம யோசிக்க ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல, டக் 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 சொல்லிட்டு 11-15 பாயிண்ட்ஸ் அப்படியே அடிக்க வச்சுட்டு போயிட்டே இருக்கணும். What I used to do earlier was I used to either take this listing out approach or the analytical approach. It was not working either way for me. Then I understood you should have a very judicious mix of both, depending on the type of the question. you should be bang on. ஏன்னா நிறைய பேப்பர் கரெக்ட் பண்ண போறாங்க அவங்க, சைக்காலஜியா சரி எந்த ஆப்ஷனா இருந்தாலும் சரி நிறைய பேப்பர் கரெக்ட் பண்ண போறாங்க. அன்லெஸ் த ஆப்ஷன் இஸ் லைக் மேத்தமெட்டிக்ஸ், வேற ஆன்சர் இஸ் வெரி ஸ்ட்ரைட் ஃபார்வர்ட், தியரி ப்ராப்ளம் சொல்யூஷன் இருந்தா ஆன்சர் கொடுக்கணும். சோசியாலஜியோ சைக்காலஜியோ தே ஆர் டிஸ்கிரிப்டிவ். You should shape the answer according to the question. How much sense are you making and how much is it matching with the demand of the question? அந்த மாதிரி யோசிக்கணும். அந்த லெவல்ல யோசிச்சு நான் அந்த லெவல்ல ஒர்க் பண்ணதுனால ஐ திங்க் இட் ஒர்க்ட் அவுட். So that is my journey in psychology. இல்ல ஜி, இது வரைக்கும் எனக்கு ஜிஎஸ்ல அது நடந்திருக்கு, தெரியாம போய் எழுதுறது. இட்ஸ் a good thing because கரெக்ட் இன் சம் வே இட் இஸ் pragmatic because there is no negative answers in mains. நீங்க ஏதாவது எழுதுனா ஒரு 2 மார்க் போட்டு விட்டுருவான். பட் இட்ஸ் an exceptional circumstance. நீங்க அதை மைண்ட்ல வச்சுக்கிட்டு சரி எப்படின்னு தெரியல அதை கதை எழுதிட்டு வர போறலாம் அப்படிங்கிற மூலம் போக முடியாது. யூ ஹாவ் டு பி த பெஸ்ட் சைக்காலஜி ஸ்டூடெண்ட் ஆர் பெஸ்ட் வாட் எவர் ஆப்ஷனல் யூ ஹேவ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட் இன் இந்தியா. அந்த மைண்ட் செட்ல போங்க. அந்த மைண்ட் செட்ல போனீங்கன்னா இஃப் யூ ஆர் த பெஸ்ட் நோபடி எல்ஸ் வில் நோ இஃப் தேர் இஸ் a tricky question. அப்படி ஒரு சந்தர்ப்பம் வந்தா அதுல நீங்க ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சது ரிலேட்டடா எழுதிட்டாங்க. பட் ஜென்ரலி ஸ்பீக்கிங் இந்த அப்ரோச்சோட எக்ஸாமுக்கு போறது இட்ஸ் லிட்டில் ட்ரிக்கி.
3 டைம்ஸ்மே ஒரு क्वेश्चन கூட வரல.
இல்லங்க, இல்ல 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 ஆக்சுவலி ஒன் ஆப்ஷனல், ஐ மீன் ஒன் டைம் சம்திங் சிமிலர் டு த 12th ஃபெயில் இன்சிடென்ட் ஹேப்பன். மாத்தி படிச்சிட்டேன் அந்த கொஸ்டின். ஒரு சைக்காலஜி பேர் விஜய் சார் கேட்டா கூட தெரியும், ஒரு 2 சைக்காலஜிஸ்ட் பேர் எஸ்ல ஆரம்பிக்கும். ஒரு அம்மா கிட்ட கூட சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தேன் எக்ஸாம் முடிச்சுட்டு வந்து மாத்தி படிச்சு எல்லாத்தையும் தி திங் இஸ் மாத்தி எழுதிட்டேன்னு நான் ரியலைஸ் பண்ணாம வந்திருந்தா கூட பரவாயில்ல. டியூரிங் த எக்ஸாம் ஐ ரியலைஸ் ஐ ரோட் இட் ராங். So it became even worse. I had to write correct answers, quality answers in other remaining questions and correct this question within some 15 minutes or so. I was yet to attempt some 70 marks or something. So that one time it happened, and of course because of that again I got just above good marks. So that is the only bad incident. Otherwise I try to complete the exam, bro. Mostly I don't leave.
Sir, morning. Here.
Hi sir.
Sir, I'm a parent of a student actually.
Yes,
we are just coming for the first time.
Okay.
Trying to explore
Sure,
the possibilities.
Yes, I can
For
understand.
a B.Pharm student, my son is a B.Pharm student. So what, according to you, what's your advice, sir? What could be the optional subject for him so that he can explore the possibility here? He is a pharmacy student.
Yes. Sir, again, this selecting the optional is a very tricky game, sir. There are multiple factors into it, all of which have to, like if you score against each factor, you should get a high score. One factor is resource availability, whether there are good, sufficient quality resources. Second is guidance. Like if you are coming to a coaching institute, obviously we are looking for guidance. Is there good guidance here? But more than this, I would say the most important factor is how comfortable you are with the subject. Do you like the subject? Are you patient with it? Do you love the subject? Now this question can be answered in 2 ways. Some people, they are very comfortable in the graduation subject. They are very confident telling that I had mathematics of graduation, so I'll go with it. So there are people who have chosen their graduation as well. I think last year's topper, Tamilnadu topper, she was agri, if I'm not wrong, or one of the toppers from Tamilnadu. She took agri optional. She scored very good in it, and that helped her get a good rank, top 100s. So it works both ways, sir. You have to really ask your son this question. So என்னோட perspective என்னன்னா, if he is very comfortable in farm, I don't know if pharmacy is an optional or something.
I think medical science is
there. So how much of an overlap is there between B.Pharm syllabus and medical science syllabus? அப்படி யோசிச்சு பாருங்க. Is he comfortable with the subject? Is he confident that he can score in it? Then it will be a good option. Otherwise he can also explore other subjects, sir. அதான் நான் சொல்றேன்ல, இப்படி பண்ணாதான் பண்ண முடியும்னு சொல்ல முடியாது சார். நீங்க மத்த சப்ஜெக்ட் எடுத்தும் கிளியர் பண்ணலாம், நடுவில் ஆப்ஷனல் மாத்தி கிளியர் பண்ணவங்களும் இருக்காங்க, கிராஜுவேஷன் சப்ஜெக்ட் எடுத்துட்டு போய் கிளியர் பண்ணவங்களும் இருக்காங்க. நம்ம மைண்ட்ல தான் சார் எல்லாமே இருக்கு. கடைசி 5th அட்டெம்ப்ட்க்கு அப்புறம் நானுமே யோசிச்சேன், should I change an optional for a brief minute அப்படின்ட்டு. நம்ம இமோஷனலா ஒரு டெசிஷன் எடுத்துட்டோம் அப்படின்னா then we will start regretting. Pragmatic நான் யோசிச்சப்போ I have dedicated a good amount of time and somehow I knew I was good. I just had to refine it a little bit better to go into that moon orbit. So நான் 80% 90% already effort போட்டுட்டேன். இதெல்லாம் தூக்கி போட்டுட்டு இன்னொரு ஆப்ஷனல்ல கிரவுண்ட் ஜீரோல இருந்து ஆரம்பிக்கிறது didn't make sense to me. அதனால I stuck with it and thankfully again it worked out. So எல்லா அப்ரோச்சும் இருக்கு சார், but for deciding these factors can be used to decide.
Thank you, sir. My second question you partly answered already. My niece is an agricultural student. She's the third year now. So what could be the advice for preparing for the next 1 or 2 years?
I would suggest you find out the person who cleared with agriculture. You talk with them. That will be a better option. Frankly, I don't know anything about agri optional, though I work in NABARD right now. So that way I can tell. But as an optional, I have very less knowledge. I think it's Swati Shri. I'm not recollecting it. Is it? She is agri optional, la? So you can talk to her, or you take out my number. I'll get in touch with you to her. That'll be better.
Hi, sir. For prelims, everyone say that under the sun everything will be asked, but we can't carry that to the exam center.
You
Please
can't carry
tell
the
me
sun.
what the things which I should carry on the exam. On last 20 days, is that my preparation was so dry. It is not colorful like you. I didn't find any ways. This is my first attempt, and my parents are like, my mom is asking, you went for institute 1 year. When did you become IAS? I'm doing daily puja for you. He said. Even I know that I won't even clear my prelims. I have that mindset. One sir will said in EVS biodiversity is important. Critically endangered species will be at that. I'm keep on counting how many questions will be correct for me in exam and how many it will be negative and all. The word 80 to 75 is the word whenever I see in the road and all. The things, the questions I should attend in prelims. That is what my into mind. Please tell me that how did you make your preparation so colorful, and how did you stay in this period for 7 years? That and all is not. I saw your interview in YouTube. You said you cleared physics in 2016, right? And you stayed in this period for so long time. What is the reason which will make you to stay strong to pursue this? And please tell me how to make this preparation very easy. Whenever I used to see my spectrum book, my mind is polity, spectrum, EVS, economics. I was so I was totally disturbed. And my dad is keep on asking anything book you need. I don't even have the pillow to sleep, full of my books. My dad is keep on if some book is, my father is an editor in Hindu newspaper. If is some they going to publish one book means he will ask, hey, current affairs is there, it's needed for you. Pa irukradhe padikka mulla pa, please pa. And he's asking, flight la poriya, train la poriya Delhi ki, for interview asking. My mind is that I can't even put 55 questions for prelims. Please tell me how. And you have faced a 2 transition period, like that elimination method you attended the prelims, and after that you attended the after elimination method also you attend the prelims. And what is your view about that prelims? You that is also new to you, right? Even though you completed 6 attempts also, the prelims is new to you. And நிறைய டவுட் இருக்கு, கொஞ்சம் சொல்லுங்க.
லிஸ்ட் முடிஞ்சிருச்சா?
ஆனா ரொம்ப
I'll give you my social media account follow. I mean the
ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்கு
சார். Ask me anything you want anytime. காலையில இப்போ முதல்ல இருந்து ஆரம்பிப்போம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன? How to make it colorful. How to make it colorful? Again, I gave a framework. அதுதான் நான் யூஸ் பண்ணது. Frankly, again like I said, I cannot be the person who studies அவ்வளவுதான், வேற எதுவுமே இல்லை. I cannot be that person. I knew that is how I am built. So I try to run every day. I like jogging. So at least 2 kilometers a day I try to run. This of course during prelims, 1 month before prelims, 2 months before mains, adu kammi agum. Some days I don't run. On an average I'm telling, I try to keep up my hobbies. Running, I see movies, I write reviews about them. I have published something somewhere. I write articles. I write a lot actually about public policy issues and cinema. So it works both ways la. நீங்க அதை எழுதும்போது உங்களுக்கு பீஸும் கிடைக்குது. But when you research about it, suppose it's a policy issue, you are adding knowledge to your UPSC preparation la. So அந்த மாதிரி find productive hobbies, even if it's not related to UPSC, like say cooking or gardening, just pursue it. So it will definitely help you to find commonalities between examination process, syllabus and the real life. Like I said, my sister example for optional, when you try to implement it, it is again keeping your brain fired illa. So அந்த மாதிரி ரிலேட் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருங்க. But on a lighter note, I'll tell you, if you are into it, you can take up stand-up comedy. உங்களுக்கு அனுபவ் சிங் பசி தெரியுமா? ஹிந்தில ஒரு ஃபேமஸ் காமெடியன். I don't know how many of you know. He was into preparation. உங்க பர்சனாலிட்டி பார்த்தா அப்படி இருக்கு. On a lighter note, I'm telling, like this now exam is not be all and all. You can take up stand-up comedy as well to add more color in your life. So that is just a lighter thing. That is one thing. Hobbies, other interest for color. Second thing, how to prepare for prelims. How is there an easy way to prepare? Adana, the answer is no. There is no easy way to prepare. Adutha question. Without forgetting, bro, adha sonnala. See, don't have FOMO. You know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. Don't have it for prelims. What you're telling is correct. It's a possibility that anything and everything can be asked for prelims, right? But if you think that A, anything and everything can be asked, B, so I'll prepare on everything and anything from any resources that I can lay my hand on, it won't work. So அந்த மாதிரி யோசிக்காதீங்க. It is true that the examination is like that, but what did I talk about stoicism? Control the controllables. What is not under your hand, it is not under your hand. What is controllable is, I'll tell you, focus on the basic sources. Like I didn't talk much on the content sources part of it because every other topper is talking about it. But are you reading newspaper consistently? Are you having your own personal compilation? Have you covered the NCRTs 2-3 times? Are you having one supplementary good book for all subjects? Like you are telling Lakshmikant for polity. Onnu podum. Like Spectrum for modern history. Adhe mari for economics onnu podum. Like that, keep your sources minimum, revise and give mock tests, bro. That is the easiest thing. Like right now, if you feel less confident, keep giving tests. I know marks will be low only. It may impact your confidence also, but don't let it affect you. That's what I'm telling. No, if you are stoic, you can choose what can impact you and what need not impact you. So on the level ku poidunga. Adha again, it's all here. That's the only advice I can give you. But there is no easy way, bro. Unfortunately, if that is there, எல்லாரும் clear பண்ணிடலாமே. சொல்லுங்க சொல்லுங்க. நல்ல கேள்வி. இது நான் நிறைய இடத்துல அட்ரஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். சி பேக்கப் பிளான் அகைன் லைக் a மெயின்ஸ் ஆன்சர் நான் வந்து ப்ரோஸ் கான்ஸ் சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கேன். there are two approaches to it, bro. நம்ம வந்து பேக்கப் பிளான் ஆக்சுவலா ஸ்டார்டிங்ல நான் எப்படி இருந்தேன் அப்படின்னா, நான் ஒரு டூ ஆர் டை அப்ரோச்ல தான் இருந்தேன். பேக்கப் பிளான் வச்சுக்கிட்டா எப்படியும் பேக்கப் பிளான் இருக்கே அப்படின்னு காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் ஆயிடுவோம். அதனால பேக்கப் பிளான் வச்சுக்க கூடாது. அதனால ஃபுல் டைம் ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணேன். இதுதான் என்னோட செயின் ஆஃப் ரீசனிங். ஃபுல்லா நான் அதை ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருந்தேன். தோ லைக் ஐ செட், ஐ ஹட் கிளியர்ட் திங்ஸ் அவுட் சைட் மை கண்ட்ரோல் வேர் அஃபெக்டிங் மீ. நான் என்னதான் என் கண்ட்ரோல் இருந்ததை பண்ணாலுமே சில விஷயங்கள்னால எனக்கு சர்வீஸ் கிடைக்காம போகுது. ஸோ நவ் வாட்? அதுக்கப்புறம் நான் யோசிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சோடனே that point of time my psychology was like, okay, backup plan irunda, it will give me some mental peace. Then I'll go into the preparation with full confidence, telling that if things don't work out, எனக்கு வந்து ஃபால் பேக் பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு ஆப்ஷன் இருக்கு அப்படின்ட்டு. சில பேர் எப்படி யோசிச்சுட்டு அதனால மென்டல் ரிலீஃபோட ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணுவாங்க. சில பேர் அப்படி யோசிச்சு அதனால மென்டல் ரிலீஃபோட ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணுவாங்க. நீங்க யார்? அது நீங்க தான் பதில் சொல்லணும். எந்த மாதிரின்னு கேட்டீங்களா? ஓ அப்படி கேட்டீங்களா? நீங்க வந்து பப்ளிக் சர்வீஸ்ல வந்து கான்ஃபிடென்ட்டா இருந்தீங்கன்னா other PSU jobs are a good option. Regulatory examination is a good option. Like right now I'm in NABARD. That is a good work profile. That I can tell you. It has like pay and perks is somewhat similar to a Group A officer. And the work they do also is in the similar domain, agriculture and rural development, which is what drew to me to NABARD rather than say RBI or something. Again, RBI is a good option. Group 1 is a good option. In government setup la dhaan irukanu அப்படினா. அப்படி இல்ல அப்படின்னா நம்ம தலைவர் மாதிரி ஸ்டாண்ட் அப் கவுண்ட் எடுத்துக்கோங்க. இல்ல அப்ராட் போய் பிஜி பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா பண்ணுங்க. எல்லாமே இருக்கு ப்ரோ. நான் வந்து பேக்கப் ஆப்ஷன் சொன்னா எல்லாமே சொல்லிட்டு போலாம். உங்களுக்கு எந்த மாதிரி அது கவர்மெண்ட் ரெகுலேட்டரி எக்ஸாமினேஷன்ஸ் இஸ் பெட்டர். அதுதான்.
நம்மளோட டெய்லி ஹாபிட்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்கணும்? சப்போஸ் நாங்க நெக்ஸ்ட் இயர் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ண போறோம்னா டெய்லி மினிமம் 25 சோ மினிமம் ஆக்டிவிட்டீஸ் மேண்டேட்டரியா என்னென்ன இருக்கணும் டெய்லி?
நியூஸ் பேப்பர் ரீடிங் டெஃபினெட்லி, spend sufficient time on it, note taking and be in a good mental health space. I'm sorry I keep repeating it to boredom, but definitely focus on your mental health. Adu illama the way you divide your day, I mean the way you divide your time period depends on you. Suppose you know the prelims is approaching near, then the time you study will be more, the time you revise and take tests will be more. Suppose you're a little far away from prelims, you can focus more on reading NCRTs or reading static books. But I don't know, there is no good golden amount of hours that I can recommend you, telling that 8 hours per day படிச்சா clear ஆயிடலாம், 5 hours per day படிச்சா nothing. Last year I'll tell you, I got my first job, so obviously the per day hours I can spend on preparation is less. I had the worst accident of my life, like you can see right now also. I had a very bad skid, so it took like left part of my body very badly. I had the surgery of my life last year. I got a ligament tear in my left knee and I did the surgery as well. My sister got married 2 weeks before the mains examination. So just 2 வாரம் முன்னாடி அவங்க கல்யாணம் வேலை இருந்து. Of course my parents took care of everything. I was not that involved. But still சொல்றேன், இந்த மாதிரி விஷயங்கள் நடந்துட்டு தான் இருக்கும். நம்ம கண்ட்ரோல் இல்ல. So regardless of it, in a broad macro view, are you on the right track? இப்போ கல்யாணம் நடக்குது, கொஞ்சம் வேலை கம்மியாயிருச்சு அப்படின்னா நெக்ஸ்ட் வீக் காம்பன்சேட் பண்றீங்களா? Are you tactical? So நான் சில மற்ற இடத்துலயே சொல்லியிருக்கேன், I am not the timetable kind of guy. Somehow for me it didn't work. 6 மாசம் இப்பவே பிளான் பண்ணி 1 மாசம் கழிச்சு அங்க இருப்பேன், 2 மாசம் கழிச்சு அங்க கொடி நாட்டுவேன் அப்படின்லாம் என்னால பிளான் பண்ணா அதெல்லாம் ஒர்க் பண்ண முடியாது. பட் ஐ நியூ ஒரு வாரத்துல இத்தனை டெஸ்ட் அட்டன் பண்ணோம், இந்த புக்லாம் கவர் பண்ணோன்ட்டு. ஸோ ஐ ஹேட் மைக்ரோ டார்கெட்ஸ். மேக்ரோ டார்கெட்ஸ் didn't work for me. Having micro targets will help because you can be tactical, அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம். பட் இமோஷனல் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியம். செல்ஃப் கண்ட்ரோல், இமோஷனல் இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், இன்னைக்கு நான் நிறைய படிச்சிட்டேன், அதனால ஐ வாண்ட் டு ரிவார்ட் மை செல்ஃப். ஸோ ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸோட ஒரு ட்ரிப் போகணும்னு நினைப்போம். பட் அந்த ஜோன்லயே ஒரு வாரம் இருந்துட்டோம் அப்படின்னா யூ லூஸ் டூ மச் டைம். இப்போ எதுக்கு புக் எடுத்துக்கிட்டு இப்பதான் ட்ரிப்பு போயிட்டு வந்தோம் அப்படின்னு தோணும். அதுக்கப்புறம் அப்படியே எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் ஆகும், அது இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் ஆகும். உங்களால ட்ரிப்பு போயிட்டு வந்து அடுத்த நாள் படிக்க முடியுமா? அது நீங்க உங்களையே கேட்க வேண்டிய கேள்வி. நானும் கத்துக்கிட்டேன், எடுத்தோடனே நான் வந்து அங்கெல்லாம் போல. பட் இவென்ச்சுவலி ஐ வாஸ் ஏபிள் டு ஸ்விட்ச் ஆன் அண்ட் ஸ்விட்ச் ஆஃப். அது மென்டலி உங்களுக்கு அந்த லெவல் ஆஃப் கண்ட்ரோல் வந்துருச்சு. ஜென் மோடுக்கு போயிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா யூ கேன் டைரக்ட் திஸ் பவர் டு எனி ஆக்டிவிட்டி யூ வாண்ட். ஸோ யூ வில் நோ அந்த பெர்மால எங்க நீங்க ஃபால் டவுன் ஆறீங்க. ஹாபிஸ்னாலயா கொஞ்ச நேரம் அதை ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க. பட் கெட் பேக் யுவர் ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் ட்ராக் as soon as possible. In a medium to long term, are you consistent? Reward yourself if you are 80 to 90% consistent. That is good enough for me. But focus on consistency rather than intensity. ஒரு வாரம் நல்லா படிச்சுட்டு அடுத்து 2 வாரம் அப்படியே என்ஜாய் பண்ணுங்கிறது it won't work out, bro. So in a medium to long term consistent-ஆ இருக்கணும். So again, per day time schedule it depends. But broadly, newspaper reading, a minimum consistent time period for studies if you are full time into preparation. If you are working, obviously it will vary. That's why I'm not able to give a standard answer. So but any which ways, if you have the deep commitment, it is doable.
So what was your to do on like 1 week before prelims, on the day of Sir, like 1 week before prelims and on the day of prelims, what should be our mindset and what should we do in order to stay confident?
Okay, 1 week before prelims, I would say maybe the first 2 days till 4 to 5 days before the prelims, you can take mock tests. That much I can say. Don't read new stuff. Obviously, you cannot read new stuff. Focus on revising. Focus on compilations. Like if you have not touched the current affairs thematic compilation, I'll tell you what I used to do. 1 week, 4 to 5 days before prelims, like I said, I stopped all the tests. Last 5 days, I would focus exclusively on revision. Like one day, I would take up static revision. So, like I said, prelims is about recognition, not recollection, right? So your mind has to be agitated. It has to be able to actively recognize whatever it sees. So I used to go through all the memory testing things in all the subjects. For example, in environment, like he was saying, no, so many critically endangered species are there, biodiversity parks are there, 18 biosphere reserves are there. So those things I used to revise. Only that. I won't do anything else. Provided everything else you have covered before. I'm just telling last 5 days what you should do. Focus only on keeping your recognition intuition active. Keep your mind agitated. அதே மாதிரி medieval history எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம் அப்படின்னா, which is my weak point, I used to lose out on a lot on Hindi terms and Sanskrit terms, which of course. So I focused extra time on that. Every chapter, I depended mainly on NCRTs, old NCRTs. After every chapter, I used to note down the Hindi and Sanskrit terms. I just revised that. For example, in Vijayanagara Empire, the hierarchy will be different. Mandala, Shubha, whatever. Now I'm not recollecting. For some other empire, it will be Ulta. So I used to form mnemonics in my mind. You know what is mnemonics? In psychology, there are like memory shortcuts. So you form mnemonics like that. You visualize it and try to retain as much this factual information as possible. So again, similarly, polity means article numbers. Yeah, for polity, I had tables for main key thematic areas. I'm sure your polity faculty would have covered it, like article wise, part wise, first start with president, name, tenure, conditions, how we can be removed and all that. Similar format you follow for all constitutional functionaries, then constitutional bodies. These I would have condensed into few tables. So that is for polity. You're getting my point, right? For every subject, I had a few things that will keep my recognition intuition agitated. That only I used to do. Then one more day, I used to take up fully for current affairs. My personal compilation I would have had 1 year முன்னாடி நான் எடுத்திருப்பேன், கான்செப்சுவல் நோட்ஸ்ல எடுத்திருப்பேன். அதை படிச்சாலே எனக்கு வந்து மூச்சு வாங்கிடும். ஏன்னா I would have just taken it so much. But good enough. You just keep getting exposed to it. Like even right after you read, if I ask you what you just read, you won't be able to recollect, which is fine. But trust me, the recognition will come into play there. You would have realized it, right? Those who are taking mock tests, how am I able to recognize it? அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் நமக்கே வரும், எங்கேயோ படிச்சிருக்கோம் அங்க வருதுன்ட்டு. அந்த மாதிரி அந்த ஃபெமிலியாரிட்டி ஃபீலிங் தான் நம்ம வளர்த்துக்கணும் ப்ரிலிம்ஸ்க்கு. What do you get to expose to is depending on the subject. So 1 day fully of current affairs. Then typically I had a stupid ritual of watching a movie one day before prelims, but that is personal because I just wanted to be in a good headspace, like I said, which I keep coming back to. So இதெல்லாம் தான் நான் பண்ணுவேன். Of course, I eat well, sleep well, get hydrated well. Don't lose out on your sleep. Don't do late night studies in the last 1 week or so. So yeah, that's about it. Just do basic things. Don't do anything new.
On the day of exam.
On the day of exam, என்னங்க போய் சண்டைக்கு போயிட்டு வர வேண்டியது அவ்வளவுதான். But see, one thing I'll tell you, don't get stressed very quickly. Again, I'm sorry, I'll get a theory into this, but you know, there is a mark and I can explain better. But our brain, no, there is இல்ல வேணாம் ப்ரோ, ரொம்ப போரிங்கா இருக்கும், வாயிலே சொல்லிடுறேன், விடுங்க. So our brain, our core brain, there is broadly 3 parts: brain stem, core brain, I mean temporal brain and all that. But broadly speaking, the innermost part of the brain is the animalistic part of the brain. நம்ம முன்னோர்கள் வந்து எவால்வ் ஆனதுல இருந்து அந்த part of the brain அங்கதான் இருக்கு. After that comes the cortex, which is the cognitive part of the brain, which says that emotions are most foundational and fundamental to our existence. It is very, very easy to get influenced by emotions. After that comes the thought. Why do we take emotional decisions and regret later? Because this fellow is here. Then only comes this fellow, right? So that's what will happen on the exam of the day. You do one small mistake, you feel that only 1 hour is there, I have to attend 70 questions. This emotional fellow will try to trick you. And there is evidence that the emotional pathway is few milliseconds faster than the rational pathway. அதனாலதான் சொல்லுவாங்க, கோவம் வந்துச்சுன்னா ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க, டேக் யுவர் டைம். Because scientifically you're waiting for your cognitive pathway to kick in. அப்பதான் the actual reasoning will take place. So be aware of it. இதெல்லாம் ஏன் உங்களுக்கு போரிங்கா சொல்றேன்னா, இவ்வளவு scientific reasons இருக்கு. So be aware of your emotions. They'll play tricks on you. Don't get stressed. One rational thing I can tell you is, like, these are all things everybody tells. Take it in rounds. First round la therinjadha mattum cover பண்ணுங்க. Then take it higher. Second round la வந்து 50-50 இருக்கத cover பண்ணுங்க. Third round la take your maximum risk. Don't take too much risk. Again, that also is there. My golden zone was 85 questions out of 100. Regardless of difficulty level, I'll reach 85. Beyond that, I'll assess the difficulty level. If the difficulty level is higher, the probability that I would get a wrong answer is also higher. So I don't take too many risks. I'll reach till 87 maybe. If the difficulty level I feel is medium to easy-ish, I go up to 90 because the probabilities of wrong answer is less. So this level of thinking you should do. How do we develop that sense? Mock tests. Practice. Practice பண்ணா இதெல்லாம் வந்துரும். விட மாட்டேங்கிறாங்களே. So many. Okay, sorry if I'm not into the camera. These are all things I'm seeing too late, so I'll just take some random questions. Is it possible to clear prelims, mains, exam in first attempt itself? Yes, absolutely. You can clear all the things in first attempt itself. Back yourself up. Again, control the controllables. The exam, people joke about it, right? It is also called unpredictable service commission because it is always unpredictable. There is also the U stands for unpredictability, uncertainty, etc., etc. So be aware of the fact that there is something external also is controlling your process. But I would temper it by saying that it is just 1 to 2%. 98% of it is your perspiration. So keep going at it. And of course, like they say, right, you cannot always depend on motivation. So stay disciplined. You have to stay disciplined. Don't depend on your motivation to drive your preparation process. Stay disciplined. Do the basics right. Like Dhoni says, trust the process, and I think you should be able to do it. And best wishes for you for that. And from engineering background till now, I'm confused choosing optional. Which optional I can take? I think I've answered that to that, sir. Congratulations. Sir, pace of studying is slow. Should I increase the speed? But if I increase the speed, I feel it is difficult to understand things. What should I do? Perfect question. Right now, what you can do is deciding between fast and slow study. There is a time, right? When you have sufficient time before prelims, you can decide, right? I have sufficient time, so I can take things slow in my difficult subjects, like ancient medieval history for me. But you can do things fast in your comfortable subjects. But right now, since there are just 2 months, I would say that, again, focus on the mode of the prelims, which is the recognition mode. Get exposed to as many mock tests as possible. Go through a little bit faster. Again, if you are not comfortable with the basics, spend sufficient time on it. Like, it should not be like you're not clear between the difference between CRR and SLR. That much basic things you don't know, you have to spend sufficient time on it. But right now, just for the paucity of time, you cannot afford to go deep into areas. focus on taking as much mock test as possible and be in that fast mode, because time is of essence now. Sir, how many hours? How many hours per day I've answered? Regarding science, should I read the NCERT or any other materials? NCERT is good enough. For basics, NCERT is good enough. Please don't depend on any other materials. Of course, institute classes, institute material is good. And for science and tech, current affairs, which is forming a major chunk of science and tech questions, please follow certain sections. Like I'm sure they would have already told you, in Hindu there is the weekly section, right, science and tech, which comes up on Sunday, and this Indian Express explained section is very good. They have explained for economics, explained for climate, explained for science and tech. Subscribe to that, keep following that. BBC News is also very good, but restrict to it. I mean, 2-3 sources are good enough. Of course, you will feel, sir, even still science and tech, some random question is going to come. It is going to be googly for everybody. If somebody is lucky enough to have studied earlier, they would have answered it. But if you have FOMO for science and tech, it's going to be very, very tough. Controllables, NCERT, basics, concepts. Control the controllables. Uncontrollables, source of current affairs, not controllable. But do the basic bare minimum, just because everybody else is doing it. Because you cannot lose out, right? Just because everybody else is doing it, and it is a rational thing to do also, follow just 2 or 3 sources. Like I mentioned, Hindu, Indian Express, and science and tech compilations also. Towards the end, the last 1 week you are asking, இதெல்லாம் பண்ணலாம் நீங்க சயின்ஸ் அண்ட் டெக், ஏன்னா இதெல்லாம் ஃபேக்சுவல் தானே, நம்ம அந்த இன்ட்யூஷனை வந்து அஜிடேட்டா வச்சுக்கணும். That time you can, add on to the factual part of it. So that is the best approach for science and tech. Personality test, how to prepare from initial stage itself. Very ambitious. I think I have covered it, right? I think if you start thinking about your story deeply, you will take sufficient amount of time. So I also took good amount of time, but right now I think newspaper reading is good enough.
Sir, can I ask?
Yeah. Sorry.
Good morning, sir. So did you give a chance to, did you give a try for other exams, TNPC exams? Have you had a?
Yes, only once I gave a very poorly performed attempt, which I wouldn't consider my attempt at all. But yes, I gave group 1 once. It didn't work out. Then I gave NABARD. I went in. That's all. No other exams I have tried.
What do you suggest? Like, shall we try and all?
Yes, it depends on you, bro. You can try. See, one thing I'll tell you is have a rational framework behind everything. Like this much time I was boring you with theories because it's better to be objective, rational civil servants than to be driven by emotions. In your case, what will help? Do cost benefit analysis. Ipo நம்ம இன்னொரு எக்ஸாம் போகலைன்னா what is the cost benefit analysis? What is the cost? Is it draining you financially? It is draining you mentally? Is it draining you socially? What is it that you are losing out by not attempting the second examination? Is it higher than the benefit? Go for it. For me, like I said, for quite some time I was into this preparation. Again, due to external factors, some things happened to me. So still I was going at it, but it was still unfair to my parents that I was depending on them for quite an amount of time. I knew, and my sister's marriage was coming. So I knew that I had to financially contribute. சும்மா இருக்க முடியாதுல்ல, நமக்கு தெரியும் நம்ம clear பண்ணிட்டோம்லாம், but coming relatives say, okay, still in home, what to do and all. Of course, not for them. அதனால affect ஆகணும்னு சொல்ல வரல. I rationally felt that it will help me. Like I said, like he was asking about plan B. அப்ப என்ன சொன்னேன் நான், whichever process gives you mental relief, you have to go for that. At that point of time, financial independence was giving me mental relief. Means I thought financial independence was necessary for mental relief, and I wanted to work in sectors that are similar to public service. 1, because that's how who I am, that's how my values are, and 2, hopefully it will help me back to prepare for another attempt for this examination. That's the only way I saw it. So I took up the examination. Thankfully I got, and it has worked out well also. Now that is a good job. So இந்த காஸ்ட் பெனிஃபிட் அனாலிசிஸ் பண்ணி பாருங்க. எந்த பாயிண்ட்ல நீங்க எவ்வளவு காஸ்ட் இருக்கு, எவ்வளவு பெனிஃபிட் இருக்கு, அப்படி பண்ணா ஈஸியா பண்ணிடலாம். என்னங்க கேக்கல?
ரெண்டாவது அதர் ஸ்டேட் போ வேணான்றதுக்காக ஐஏஎஸ் தான் வேணும்னு ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணி
இல்லங்க, என் கதை வேற. மீன்ஸ் நான் சூஸ் பண்ணலங்கிறதுல அவங்க கொடுக்கல. தட் இஸ் தி திங். Like I said, when you read about the case, you will know it was not under my control. Actually, I would have gone in regardless. But again, it depends on preference. I was into IAS anyways, and now that I see in retrospect, everything worked out well. I have pushed myself here and I have reached at this level, so I'm obviously grateful for that. But அப்படி இல்லை, நான் செலக்ட் பண்ணாம இதுதான் வேணும்ன்றதெல்லாம் இல்லை, நான் தான் அவார்டு எடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டேன். So at that point of time, after this cost benefit analysis, I knew I should take up something. Do or die hard is do or die was not working out for me. So that's the thing. take some. Anybody else also we can ask. Suggest to ancient and medieval. I have said old NCRTs are good enough. Stick to NCRTs. Apart from that, nothing else is required. Give sufficient number of mock tests. See, what will happen is if you give sufficient number of mock tests on from any academy, you just don't just stick to one academy for test series. That's also one thing I would suggest. One proper test series you may have. For example, Shankar's, you have paid for it, you have subscribed for it. But other tests also you will keep getting, right, from Telegram or whatever. If you can afford for it, pay for it also. But depend on other sources as well, because one academy, they have a tendency to think only in a certain way. Like environment, they may think only these areas are important. So there, all the environment test series, only certain type of questions may come. So lay your hand on as many test series as possible and keep taking them. Just keep taking them. So for example, ancient and medieval also, so many academies, like they have a reputation for asking very, very tough questions which you cannot find from any sources from ancient and medieval. But it will be good for you. Because if you keep getting exposed to such questions, easier questions anyway you can handle. And if God willing, if the same question repeats, you'll be lucky also that day. So my point is keep getting exposed to other academies as well. No, don't just stick to one academy. Like, I don't know if Shankar will agree with me for this, but I'm just giving a general strategy. Source of current affairs for psychology paper 2. I didn't have any separate source for psychology paper 2. Who is asking? I think Kirtana. If you are preparing for psychology, I would say that the source of current affairs, of course, my own compilation. I didn't have any external source, but whatever external source I read, I kept adding the psychologically relevant points to my own source. Like the conceptual part I was telling, even for optional, I had it. Many things. If you are, like I said, since syllabus is the constitution, if you know the syllabus of your optional exactly well, like the back of your hand, you should know what to note down and what not to do. For example, one random news piece was there that in England, they had banned advertisements that were showing women in a stereotypical manner. For example, only dishwashing advertisements or I don't know, in certain advertisements, only women were shown as nurses. We keep seeing it, right? Such ads were banned in England. This is just one thing. But I knew I can use it as a golden point in psychology. I noted it down and I used it. I nicely used it. Whenever questions came out about prejudice, stereotype, regressive thinking, I used it nicely. You can suggest at the conclusion telling us such progressive practices from international partners can be imbibed into policy decisions of India. So my point is the source is not standard. Your source is standard, meaning your compilation is standard. That you can take inspiration from anything. Like I used to source from books also. For example, there is a book called Start With Why, Simon Sinek's book. Some of you may have read it. If you read that book, the book, whatever theory it is based on, it is based on psychology only. The aspect of brains I was telling, no, inside brain, animal part of it, emotions, outside brain, rational part of it. So the book also divides your life, the purpose of your life as, start with why, what drives you emotionally. Then go on to do about how and what of it, the processes behind it. But you should know the why of it. So this golden circle, which he calls, was exactly similar to the structure of brain that we did in psychology. If you are a nerd like me, you can relate your optional with anything and everything and keep adding on to it. Then use it like a hero in examination or heroine, and definitely you will be rewarded. Ups and downs are inevitable, but after a sync, coming back to track takes time. How did you manage this? All toppers will say what to do and achievements. Ana amga hardships share பண்றது இல்ல. You can share some such. இவ்வளவு நேரம் அதான பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். Yes, definitely it will take back time, but resilience is very important because again, I think in one of the earlier Shankar videos, when they asked what is the important lesson, the first thing I started was love yourself. I didn't start with syllabus or anything. Love yourself. That is the basic thing. So if you feel that you have had a setback, it's okay. Take your time, relax. I don't know, go out or something. It will definitely take time. Don't worry. Again, if you have that FOMO or guilt telling that while I am relaxing, while I'm seeing this movie, so many people are preparing, what am I doing in my life, blah, 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 blah. I was there. I've somewhat managed it. I've come to the other side. I was mentored some people telling not to do it, and it has worked out for me. So it is not a bad feeling. I am not judging it. It will definitely happen. It is a natural process. Take your time, but come back later on, latest or no. And the mari full இறங்கிருங்க. take your time, but definitely you can come back. It is a natural thing. Don't worry about it if you take time. Sir, explain A in PERMA. Oh, good. People are noting down my model. A is for accomplishment. Yes, A is for accomplishment. Like I said, you need to have the sense of high. Again, going back to the body, what happens when you feel a sense of high? Adrenaline gets released. So that's what drives your high, right? Now, jogging pona abdina, I used to get the sense of high. Perhaps I had a bad day at studying, marks varla. Fine, go. You have a ready-made high machine inside. Don't depend on intoxicants, no, to get an high. Why do you want to, drink strange tasting spirits to get an high? I mean, no judgment here, but for me, that used to give me a high. I used to have a sense of accomplishment. I extended. I used to run more. So eventually, I ran half marathons also, because of which I had to get a surgery. But yeah, I try to get a high regardless of what thing I used to do. Luckily, I mean, hopefully it should be from your studies. If not, no problem. If you have had a bad day, get a high from something else. I mean, I'm not endorsing any intoxicants here. You know in what sense I mean the high. So A is for accomplishment. You deserve rewards for accomplishment. You can achieve. Just ensure that you're doing it for an academic purpose. Yeah. So many questions. Did your accident affect your preparation, sir? Yes, it did. I mean, I don't want to go into the details. Yeah, obviously it does. How to deal with anxiety? I think I became a psychotherapist now. I overemphasized, I think. How to deal with anxiety issues? I get anxious about UPSC exam alone, not in other exams. How can I address it, sir? This is a heavy topic. I mean, I cannot just give out free advice like that. நண்பன்ல சொல்ற மாதிரி free advice கொடுத்துட முடியாது. See, anxiety, see, stress management la, there is a beautiful framework. I'm sorry, I keep getting back to it. There is a beautiful framework that says, listen to me, it's interesting. When you see something threatening, right? What is stress? Your response to something bad, something threatening. ஐயோ நம்மளால பண்ண முடியாதே அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு விஷயம். When you see something, you can see it either as a threat or an opportunity. So that is the first level of appraisal. How are you seeing it? Second level of appraisal is, are you capable of handling it? Yes or no? Good stress managers get positive answers from both questions. They see firstly that as an opportunity, and secondly, they believe they have the ability to handle it. So ensure that you develop this framework. நீங்க stress management class போனாலுமே இதுதான் சொல்லுவாங்க. உங்களுக்கு ஃப்ரீயா அவ்வளவு அட்வைஸ் கொடுத்துட்டு இருக்கேன். Ensure that you do proper stress appraisal. அதை நீங்க பண்ணிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னாலே most of your anxiety will go away. You should believe that you have the capability to, clear the exam or get over whatever hurdles you are facing, right? It's an everyday process. I cannot give a magical solution that will, make all your anxiety go away. Like Dale Carnegie says, right? Live in day-tight compartments. இந்த கோல்டன் ஃபிஷ்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஏன் அது சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு? அதுக்கு அதோட மெமரியில அந்த நாள் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும், வேற எந்த நாளுமே அதுக்கு இருக்காது. அதனாலதான் சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. ஸோ எல்லாத்தையும் மறந்து அந்த நாள் மட்டும் என்ஜாய் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொல்ல வரல. UPSC is a very serious process, but my point is, take one day at a time, set a target for that day, achieve it on that day, keep your mind in a good space on that day, feel high on that day, sleep well on that day, and get back better on the next day. Take it one day at a time. It will definitely help. Hindu, Insight IAS magazine. Yeah, those are good enough sources for current affairs. Sir, marks from mock makes me demotivated. Yes, they will demotivate you. I think I've answered about all questions. They are more or less similar. So if there is anything else we can have, or
yes. Okay. Online and offline students, you have any other doubts? See, for the psychology, we will have a separate session.
Yeah.
For psychology students, we will have a separate session related to the psychology related doubts. So this session to get a motivation, because now we are on the verge of the prelims, and it's a very
Are you
high
feeling
time
motivated?
for the, yeah.
I hope.
So it's a high time for the.
But don't depend on
prelims.
motivation alone. Like I said, don't depend on motivation alone. You have to stay disciplined. It's easy to feel high on 2 days and like, yes, he told, I also will do, and 2 days later we'll forget. Discipline.
So the main objective is to, to give this motivation, and at the same time, so how to prepare for the prelims. Apart from your mains is also very important process. So that's the reason I think he has shared his experience and other thing. So please don't bother about your background and other things, and don't bother about your competitors. So பாத்தீங்கன்னா புவனேஷ் சார் வந்து BSc physics graduate, but he took psychology as an optional. So it's only a confidence, அவ்வளவுதான். It's all about self-confidence and your self-motivation. And also he has waited for a long time. பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு ப்ராசஸ் சொல்லியிருப்பாருன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். So 2 times rank வாங்கியிருக்காரு, but despite of that he waited it and got in the very top rank. So perseverance played a very important role. And more important thing, what I found since I was his faculty, psychology faculty, so he maintained the same emotional state every time. So whether it's the first prelims or not seri, mains or not seri, after getting to the service, he maintained the same. So he never deviated. So that emotional stability is very important. So of course stress management என்னோட நல்லாவே சொல்றாரு actually. Okay, our class நான் சொல்லி கொடுத்தது ரொம்ப நல்லா சொல்றாரு. Okay, anyway, it's nice to hear. So it is something what you have to learn. அதுதான். So this is what you have to learn. So this is the way to success. So success is only one thing, as he told, it's a hard work. There is no other thing. So strategy, it's okay, fine. Everything is there. But real, at the end of the day, it is the hard work is going to take. So our Irkarna, it is only because of his hard work. Hard work and the persistent, and as you told, consistency. And the consistency he maintained. Despite of ups and downs, emotional turmoil irundhalum, yes, we may get into downs, but again we have to come back, because this is a prelims time. Definitely you will have a lot of doubts. So you may feel that you didn't study anything. This is what. Then you are on the right track. If you feel that you are very confident, okay, I've done everything for the first time now, then I will say that you are not in the right track. Bayam varundadna, I will say you are on the right track. Anyway, we have to congratulate Mr. Bhuvanesh for sparing his time. So I will say it is his first milestone. I'm right. So it's a clearing exam is the first milestone. So we can expect another 30 to 35 years of the service. So you may be doing more in our state and more in our nation. So that we can expect. So I hope with this we will wind up. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other?
Just one more thing. If anybody wants to get in touch or ask some doubts, you can note down my Twitter handle. It's _BhuvanRam. BHUVANR. Can I? Okay. Yeah, I hope I've been of some use to you in this, I don't know, 40 odd minutes, and you can get in touch with me. Obviously,
he's also ready to extend his help. And when he came itself, he told that is before going to the service. Now service porthukku munnadi. So in that meantime, I will be helping for the students. So those who are preparing for the prelims as well as for the mains, that also he told. So definitely you can make note of it, and you have any doubts or something, you can clarify, you can follow it. So you'll get a better, ideas and better motivations.
Yeah. And I'll apologize to all the non-Tamil people. I kept shifting in times in Tamil because that local flavor you cannot get in English. I'm sorry for that. But otherwise, I hope I've addressed all candidates from all backgrounds. So yeah, see you soon. Stay in touch and love yourself. Thank you.